Have you learned how to crochet and now you want to learn how to knit? A few years ago, I tried to learn how to knit, and there are several things that I found very helpful for me to do as a crocheter, and I wanted to share all of this with you. Hello and welcome to Evening Makes. My name is Marina, and last year I decided to pick some knitting needles and learn how to make this sweater, and I learned so much around the way I want to share with you. My tip number one is to try continental knitting. There are two different types of knitting. One is called English style and the other continental style. In English style, you're usually holding the yarn with right hand and throwing the yarn to do the stitches, while with continental knitting, you're holding the yarn with your left hand and picking the yarn with your needle. And this movement is very similar to the one that you already know how to do with your crochet hook. So it'll make it easier for you to tension the yarn and to have more even stitches even on your first knitting project. Additionally, one tip that I would like to give in relation to this is that every time you Google or you search here on YouTube for tutorials or for explanations on how to knit, how to increase in knitting, for example, add the term continental to it. Since you English style, you hold the yarn with a different hand than in continental style, as a beginner it might be a little difficult to do this transition and trying to understand how to do, so always add the term continental to your Google search. My second tip is to use circular needles. Circular needles have the needles connected with a cable, and this cable that will hold your stitches. Additionally, they are relatively way smaller than the traditional needles that you see. It is more comfortable to hold, and they also have a similar size to the crochet hook. So the difference in weight that to do those movements will be a little less, so it will be easier for you to try this out. Additionally, circular needles offer the flexibility that you can both knit flat and you can also knit in the round. With the traditional needles, you can only knit flat, so it is less flexible overall and might increase your initial cost if you want to knit circular than you would knit another different types of needle. Another tip is to work and try out different yarns that you don't usually crochet with. Since the techniques are a little different and the materials that you're using, might be that some yarns that you love to crochet with, you are going to hate to knit, and vice versa. An example that I have is this t-shirt yarn. I think this is quite okay to crochet, but I hate to knit with this. And it's also very difficult to find knitting patterns with it. I don't know about the movement of the needles. It is very complicated to work with that, so I keep this more for my crochet projects. And one yarn that I work a lot with knitting, but I hate to work with crochet, are mohair yarns. Those are those yarns that have a silk thread, and then it has this mohair, which is an animal fiber, and they are usually used with another type of yarn to give an extra fluffiness to their garments, and I find it great to knit with this. But with crochet, I feel like the hook pick the stitches, and I don't know exactly which type of hook to use with that. I know that some people crochet with mohair. I saw many different projects, but for me this doesn't work. My next tip is to try out with a project that you already did before. This is my first project in knitting. It is a raglan sweater. I had already crochet a raglan sweater. I didn't finish and I forgot, so I cannot show you here. But I already was familiar with the construction, which makes it way easier for me to focus on learning more the technique of knitting instead of having to think too much about the construction. Another thing that you might try is to, if you already crochet, or even if you didn't, is to do hats. This was my first crochet hat. It is made with doing the half double crochet on the back loop, and this is one of the first projects that I did with knitting. It is, even though it has this texture, it was quite easy to make, and it got me familiar with the basic stitches. I have a link that I will put on the description on how to knit a hat in continental knitting. which will be pretty easy to do even if you never did any other project. I see many people saying that crochet is faster than knitting and the knitting takes too long, and I think this might be very unmotivated if you are a crocheter and you want to start knitting. And what I want to say is that crochet, when you are working with like half double crochets, double crochets, you're increasing the size of the stitches. So for example, to make a sweater, you will need less stitches in crochet than you need knitting to do. But the speed that you do the stitches yourself, how many stitches you can do in a certain amount of time, like 1 minute, this comes way more from your experience and from how many projects you work, and if you're enjoying the project, if you're enjoying the yarn and your materials. So like, don't worry, knitting is not slower than crochet, it's just that it takes more stitches to make an overall garment. And my last tip is more relation to how to care for your knits. And what I will have to say, and you probably know if already, crochet garments, is that you should not hang your clothes. I think it is okay to hang if you want to make a video. If you want to take some nice pictures for Instagram, that's completely fine. But when you are storing the clothes, I would suggest you don't hang them. The knitting stitches are way more stretched than the crochet ones. So by hanging the clothes, you're producing a lot of tension down in the garment, and this will make the fabric looks different. It will make it stretch, it might not fit you anymore, and might also damage the fabric. So I would suggest you always fold and always store them folded and in a shelf, for example. I hope you have found some insights and inspiration in this Crocheter's Guide to Knitting. I have made a few months ago a fall knitting plans that has some inspirations and some pattern ideas that are more fall thematic. Some are quite easy to do, so if you want to check this video, I'll link here. And if you like this video and you found this useful, I would tell you to please like and subscribe. I make videos here every week on trying to make my dream wardrobe by sewing and knitting. Feel free to share your knitting and crochet experiences down below, and I see you in the next one. Bye!